Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. Today our video is all about 5 foods we thought were healthy, and we're also going to explain why they might not be so healthy.
So this is a bit of a fun video, just sort of going back in time, talking about some of the foods that we really perceived as healthy, or that are still marketed as healthy, but we've since learned that they're not so healthy and we have found other alternatives for, basically.
And before we jump into today's video, we just want to let you guys know that our gut health course, Get Glowing Online, has reopened for enrollment.
So we are still within the early bird enrollment period, which will end on Sunday the 11th of Feb at 5 PM Pacific time. And basically if you join before then, we do offer 25% off the membership price. And this year we've also introduced a number of different pricing packages, and the starting one will be at $97 with that 25% off. So if you want to grab that deal, get in before Sunday, and otherwise we do close enrollment on the 17th of Feb at 5 PM Pacific time. So we will be reopening the course later on in the year, but if you want to be working on your gut health early on in 2018, now is the time to join us. So you can go to getglowing.online, we'll leave the link in the description below if you want to learn more. And we also have a nice little intro video there that tells you all the details about the program. So just head to that link and you can learn more. But other than that, we will get started with today's video.
Okay, so our first cab off the rank, we're going to be talking about 5 foods that we thought were healthy. Number 1, and we've said it before in the past, is margarine. Now, I think these days people are much more aware that margarine is not good for your health, but then at the same time with kind of the vegan movement even coming through, I think a lot of people have gone back to margarine as a butter replacement, which is just not a good idea, guys.
Yeah, so for me, like, when I think about margarine, I think about like where it all started with the can't believe it's not butter product and all those ads.
I can't remember these ads. We were actually looking at them before on YouTube. I can't remember. I think this was like a little bit before me, I can't believe it's not butter, but...
So I think the ad was like around 1996, but I feel like that's when it really kicked off, that Fabio ad where they're like spraying this vegetable oil into their vegetables and meats and things instead of butter. So the kind of obsession with margarine that started back in the 90s was really about avoiding cholesterol and saturated fat, which we were really scared of, but these days we know that it's not something to be scared of, especially in the context of a balanced diet where we're consuming animal products that are ethically raised and raised on a natural diet.
And the other big problem with products like margarine is that we know that they're made out of hydrogenated oils. So hydrogenated polyunsaturated fatty acids most of the time. So that includes all of our seed oils, which we know can be really inflammatory inside the body. And because they're hydrogenated, we also have the formation of what we call trans fats, which we know are so bad for our health. They're basically carcinogenic.
Yeah, and we kind of don't like to use that word, like we don't throw it around willy-nilly because we don't like to approach health from sort of like a fear-based perspective.
Yeah.
But when it comes to trans fats, we really know that this is something to avoid. And yeah, so margarine is definitely out. All of your nasty vegetables, soybean, canola oils, everything that's in the margarine, we're steering clear of. And ironically, we would instead opt for a really high quality butter or ghee. So I know a lot of people, and even us, we're paleo, but we do incorporate some ghee and even butter. So it's kind of up to you whether you draw that line, where you draw that line, if you want to have butter or not in your diet.
Yeah, and basically butter and ghee you just see as more of a whole food when you compare it to like these super toxic,
industrialized, like manufactured foods. So the second food that we used to think was really healthy was whole wheat products. So these still get like a really positive rap, and whole grain, whole wheat still get sort of the tick of approval on a lot of health food products and things, but these days we've sort of come to learn and believe that they don't really stand up to the claims, and we don't incorporate them into our diet as a health food per se.
So number 1, they take up like a big portion of your diet if you're including them on a daily basis and believing that it's healthy. The other part is that they're still a refined product. So even though it's whole grain, like I'm not seeing any whole grains in there. Like, you know when you eat rice, like that's a whole grain. bread, no matter what format you're eating it in, is a refined milled product, and we know that when we refine our carbohydrates, they spike our blood sugar like that. So
yeah, and in particular wheat, it just really spikes our blood sugar. So you kind of had that roller coaster where you're always hangry and then you're tired and then you're energized, and it's quite sort of like emotionally taxing to be like up and down all throughout the day. So whole wheat products are going to do it to you as well, not just the super white flour. Also, of course, you guys know that we avoid gluten because of its impacts for gut health primarily. Whether or not you're a celiac, it can really contribute to leaky gut and other nasty things like that. So we tend to avoid wheat products, even the whole wheat products, which are sort of promoted as healthy.
And as if there were not enough reasons to avoid whole wheat products, we also know that they contain phytates. So these are basically anti-nutrients that are going to grab on to your minerals during digestion and let them kind of just pass right on through.
It just binds them so the body can't absorb them. But to sort of finish up, I guess we avoid wheat products completely, as you guys probably know, being paleo or paleo based. And so there's really no sort of substitute as far as that goes. We just eat a lot more veggies.
So number 3 is lean meats and low fat products. So especially in the health and fitness world, we often see people saying to opt for like your chicken breast, like this has like this halo around it as like the health food. You have like a chicken breast with broccoli. But we don't really see chicken breast as a health food at all. In fact, I would see that as kind of unhealthy. So for one, we know that our lean meats, and in particular our muscle meats, have a not so good amino acid profile when compared to things like our organ meats or to like those fattier,
more gelatinous types of meat. So yeah, I mean, there's always this sort of promotion of like, the salad topped with like lean protein. But really, I think it comes back to this real fear of fat and cholesterol, and then somehow that the fat will make you fat, which is completely untrue. So nowadays we really opt to try and vary our diet and get more of those glycine-rich cuts of meat. And also our organ meats, which are sort of an ongoing thing to try and incorporate more and more into our diet, because it is like a bit of a change.
Yeah, let us know if you want to see a video about organ meats. Yeah, we'll try and do it for you guys. But some of the other reasons why we don't like to opt for these kind of low-fat products is because we know as well when we opt for low fat that it's just replaced with sugar. So because they're still trying to make it taste good, they're going to add in heaps of sugar. So we see this really often with like our yogurts. Is one that comes to my mind.
Yogurts is like the first thing that comes to mind, because I remember growing up throughout the sort of low-fat craze when it was really in full swing. It was all about the low-fat yogurt, but it was so incredibly loaded with sugar, because otherwise our palate as human beings would just be like so unimpressed by a product with no carbohydrate, no sugar and no fat.
Yeah, well, it's got to get like something from somewhere. Yeah, you know, it's not made of air.
So basically, to wrap that one up, what we replace our sort of lean meats and low fat products with is just more natural state foods. So trying to eat a greater array of meats, not just those muscle meats, and then steering clear of low fat products. I mean, we don't need those anymore. And it's not as common to find low fat products anymore, honestly.
And when you're eating like mostly whole foods, you're not really going for the packaged things that have been kind of tampered with. So our fourth food, which we thought was healthy, and you guys are going to You're gonna hate us!
But we really tried to find things that were a little bit unusual to chat about. So our fourth food we thought was healthy was peanut butter. Now, peanut butter, I feel, has still the sort of tick of approval. You see it at a lot of health food cafes and bars, and we're not gonna lie, we still do eat peanut butter occasionally, but we are under no sort of illusions around whether or not it's a health food. For us, it's a treat food and an indulgence, but it's not a health food.
So to start with, we know that peanuts can sometimes be contaminated with aflatoxin. So aflatoxin is a carcinogenic toxin that is produced by a certain type of fungus that often grows on peanuts and other tree nuts, sometimes in things like corn as well. Basically because peanuts are kept in big silos, and when moisture gets in there, we can have different kinds of funguses and molds growing.
So these are all just toxins produced by fungi that kind of grow on peanuts when they just sit there. And it's very common to grow in peanuts in particular, which is just one sort of sad fact about the peanut. But the other piece is that the sort of fat profile of peanuts is not so great compared to other nuts. So they're very, very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which we know can kind of swing our balance and be a little bit more inflammatory to the body. So we feel that we would prefer to opt for other nut butters, things like almond butter or macadamia butter.
Even coconut butter is a really good one as well. I think macadamia and coconut would kind of top the list of having the most stable fats. And the other problem with peanut butter is that when you buy a jar of peanut butter, you don't know how long that's been sitting on the shelf for. Because polyunsaturated fatty acids oxidize really easily when they're exposed to light and things like that.
It's sort of like your canola oils and your other hydrogenated oils. They can be oxidized and rancid on the shelf, so on top of being full of these polyunsaturated fats, they can be causing even more oxidative damage. So if you are going to opt for peanut butter, our top tip would be, look for organic, look for as freshly sourced peanut butter as you can. Try to avoid the really sort of big commercial brands.
Oh yeah, like Kraft?
Yeah, like the Kraft peanut butter, because really you don't know how long it's been sitting on the supermarket shelf, how long it's been in the warehouse, and it's most likely to be produced from these giant silos that could be moldy. So poor old peanut butter.
But we do still use it very occasionally. Like, just because we know that peanut butter isn't like the most perfect health food doesn't mean that we're like going crazy eliminating it like 100% like everywhere. So just kind of being mindful.
Yeah, well, it's just changing the perception. We used to think it was healthy, now we're like, it's a treat.
Okay, so number 5 we have fruit smoothies. And when we say this, we're talking about like when you go down to Boost Juice and buy a smoothie, oftentimes they're made on way too much fruit, so you don't know how many bananas can be in one smoothie, like an amount that sometimes you wouldn't eat normally. And that can really add up in terms of sugar.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, even some of the different health foods, sort of like raw juice places that you see around, are going to do juices and smoothies that are super packed with fruit, but they often like to add other stuff too, like dates, raw honey, sometimes even like raw coconut sugar to different things. So the sugar just sort of gets higher and higher in these products, and oftentimes there's very little fiber as well, especially if you're having a juice. So I mean, you guys know that we do enjoy fruit smoothies and acai bowls, that kind of thing from time to time, but again, we're sort of under no illusions that this is sort of a bit of a sugar bomb. It's an indulgence, it's a treat. It's much better than diving into sort of like a Ben & Jerry's or having a thick shake full of, low quality dairy and straight up sugar. Yeah, but at the same time it's like, it's a treat.
Big dose of fructose. And we know that having really high doses of fructose can be not so good for our liver, in particular developing things like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which we definitely don't want. But yeah, so just making sure that you're not going overboard with the fruit smoothies. They're not always so healthy.
Yeah. It's not something to be scared of after a workout occasionally or an active day or when it's hot in the summer, but yeah, it's like not a daily thing, unfortunately. And the other point that I wanted to mention is that it's quite rare to find anywhere that will do organic fruit smoothies, and I do feel quite strongly about eating organic berries because I feel that berries are so highly sprayed, and I really don't super love the idea of like eating a full smoothie full of sprayed fruit. That's like getting picky, but
well, the best way to do it really is to just make it at home. I mean, you just don't know how much fruit they're putting into it when you go and buy a smoothie while you're out. Being able to control like the quality and the quantity when you're at home is so much better for you.
And the juice bars also like to use like the really high sugar fruit. So it'll be like a smoothie with like mango and oranges and all this sort of stuff in it. Not just your berries and things like that. Okay, so that wraps up the 5 foods that we used to think were healthy and why they're not. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave it a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like it. And before you go, we'd also love to hear in the comments below what foods you thought were healthy and, you know, foods that you used to eat really regularly but now you've learned a bit more about. It would be really interesting to share in the comments.
And if you're interested in joining our February 2018 intake for Get Glowing Online, don't forget to check the description box below for links to go and learn more and enroll.
And we'll see you guys in our next video.
Bye guys!